Okay, things are greening up enough. I think it's time to do the first video of the year. This is a 6-year-old permaculture designed food forest. It's a ½ acre in permaculture in Asheville, North Carolina. And I'm just going to give the basic breakdown, like I said, try and keep this brief, not lose people's attention. Top is a kitchen garden. We're in here at least twice a day as we let the animals out, the chickens and the ducks, and we feed the fish, harvest the food we'll eat that day. Below it is more long-term annuals, and there's stuff like corn and beans and squash, your three sisters, onions and garlic and radish, stuff like that we don't, they're not radish, but that we harvest once it's all ready, so it needs less attention. We harvest that. We are in there a couple times a week. On the outside of that is what we call the traditional food forest. I'm sorry, not traditional, but a food forest. That's planted in guilds. So we try to mimic the 7 layers of a food forest, as many of them as we can in each guild. The basic on that is the edge of the forest from the ground to the top turns green every year all by itself. We don't water it, we don't plant it, we don't seed it, we don't put transplants in, we don't mulch it, but every year it does it by itself. So we mimic that in our backyards, creating the most output for the minimum input. So what we'll do is we'll go down and have a look at some of these guilds, I guess, and the swales and the hugel mounds behind them, explain how that works. So here's the swales here, or the start of them. They all act as walkways coming down into the kitchen garden. This is the old hot tub that I use as a nursery pond for other plants, and a herb spiral, lemon balm and bee balm mixed in. This is the first main swale here. It's property wide. It spills down into the next swale below, splitting multiple times. Behind that is hugel mounds. It's buried organic matter. Look up hugel culture. You can see a lot of the garlic in there now. So this is the long-term annuals. There's also many perennial plants, nut trees, fruit trees, berry bushes, edible ground covers. So I was saying nitrogen fixing plants, pulling nitrogen from the air, storing it in their roots. Dynamic accumulating plants like comfrey here with a long tap root, accessing those minerals and nutrients that are down deep. We chop that leaf or use it in the compost, leaving those nutrients behind up top for the shallow rooted plants. Lots of different flowers to bring in the insects and the pollinators, the beneficial insects and the pollinators. And lots of berries for us as well. Let's go down a little farther and have a look. So looking back up in an annual garden from here, each of these areas is planted heavily, like I said, with annuals and perennials. Mixed in there you can see onions and cabbages and kales with blueberries around it. There's also violets, oregano, strawberries down front. This is sorrel, comfrey, sochan, the hazelnut. It's a Cornelian cherry. The small tree next to it's actually a I hate it when I go blank on the camera. Honey locust. I had to pause the camera and jiggle my brain a little bit. So it's a couple honey locusts that showed up naturally, but I cut those back every year. Back behind us, the apple tree. That'd be the main key species in this guild. You can see the blue tags on it. Those are this year's grafts. If they make it, I'll replace those with some metal tags so we don't lose track. I say I will. What else? We can just look down, and here's strawberries around the edge here. This is a jewel gooseberry. Some onions mixed in, more cabbage, peas, garlic. This flowering plant here is one of last year's daikon radishes. There's more comfrey, strawberries down front, garlic, 3 jujube plant trees, bushes. They're young, just a couple years old. More blueberries. Let's go down here and have a look at over there and have a look at the oldest apple tree and the gilder on that now. Oh, it's just so nice. So now we're at the bottom of the long-term annuals, looking back up through. You can see the perennials have started to take in the majority of the area here, so we'll have less area available for growing our annual crops down in this area. We're also starting to get decent harvests off of the larger trees like the apples and the cherries mixed in and the hazelnuts. And the berry bushes are giving us very productive years as well. There's grapes here across the bottom. Surrounded by blueberries down here. Just a gorgeous morning. Thought I'd do a short video. Walking from the bottom of the property here. Just the bottom pond and the tiny house. Coming up through, talk about a few of the things we see. These are all blueberries down here. Some raspberries on the end. Nanking cherry. The gold rush apple behind it. This outside here's planted in a food forest style with a key species in the center and a guild around that, meeting the needs of the whole, working together in a symbiotic relationship. This fenced inside here has berries all along the fence. The annual garden is up the top closest to the house. That's where we grow the everyday vegetables. Lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, stuff like that we eat. Down below we grow the long-term annuals. Stuff like the Three Sisters Guild, the corn, the bean, the squash, garlic, onions, stuff like that. Mixed in there is also perennials. You can see there's a few pear trees, some apple trees on the perimeter, hazelnuts. Some shorter bushes mixed in as well, some cornelian cherries, Nanking cherries. Below that in the understory we have gummy berries, josta berries, currants. What else is in there? There's some grapes just coming up the trellis at the bottom here. There's a few young pawpaws mixed in across the bottom. Each of these has swales in front of them. They're all interconnected, so as one fills, it flows into the next. As I mentioned, there's lots of sochan in there, and horseradish, and bee balm, lots of violets, and mints, some stinging nettles off to the side. This is a josta berry here. This nitrogen fixer is an autumn olive here. Autumn olives are invasive, but this is actually an amber autumn olive. Its berries are sterile, so they don't reproduce. It's got the buzz by, I'm sorry. It's loaded full of bees, as you can see. It smells so good. On this side is a gooseberry. See all the young berries. And these guilds is much of the same. We have the sochan on the bottom, lilies, irises, bee balm, some different succulents, some strawberries in the front, lots of clover mixed in. This is a gummy berry here, also loaded with bees. That's our oldest apple tree. It's got quite a few grafts on it. Wherever you see an orange string, there's a graft on it. It's flowering nicely now. Has the rock wall behind it that creates a little microclimate there, storing that heat. That's planted in strawberries. There's a fig next to it. It's too close, but I just stuck a cutting in and it made it. Oops. These are winter berries. It's actually loaded full of ripe berries right now. If you want to let these finish, they're like the gummy berry. They're tart until they get completely done. That berry, as red as it is, wouldn't quite be ready. You want it to get almost a dried look, I found. But it's a nitrogen fixer as well. It's fruiting during the winter time, flowering late fall, so it's nice for the insects. This is a hazelnut. And there's some black raspberries and wine berries. There's a young cherry tree there, sour cherry. Elderberries. Anna winesap apple, I believe. These are fall-bearing yellow raspberries. I cut back hard. They'll give us a nice fall crop. Another elderberry behind that. And it continues again. Another apple. The gills blow it with the flowers. I think it's a gooseberry in this one. Fig. It's a plum we're grafting things onto. Asian pear behind it. And a kefir pear and an elderberry and potatoes, some annuals mixed in here. This is a hougoumon we just built in the class, surrounded by raspberries and josta berries and young Nanking cherry. What else is, what's different that we haven't seen? Different kinds of josta berries. Oh, this is a whatchamacallit, let's look at the tag. Goji berry, I can't find the tag. That's a goji berry, doing real well. An Asian pear behind it, and honeyberry. This is new this year. A yellow gooseberry. Chickens are in there with that peach till these ground covers come in better up in this area. Start of a banana circle here, and we moved the bananas this year. Hi sis, why are you not with the other ducks? Well, there's just too much to name, so I'm going to stop, keep it shorter. Oh, there's an elderberry there. Hope you enjoyed the tour. If you like the video, please like and share it. Subscribe to the channel. Permaculture Solutions. Thanks for watching.